Hello everyone. I'm bringing you a little bit of update from field prep for the 2022 season. As you all know, one of our major practices that we're getting more and more into every year is intercropping, where we're seeding two different grain crops together at the same time with the goal of harvesting them at the same time. And then we do some post-harvest separation. Well, last year we made the decision to go ahead and purchase a new, to us, seed drill. Before we were running a 15-foot John Deere hoe drill. This year we've made the decision to purchase a case disc drill. So the difference between the hoe drill and the disc drill is the hoe is using kind of almost like a knife to cut open the ground and then to drop the seed. A disc drill is using a straight disc that kind of cuts and then will open up a smaller hole and allow the seed to drop into the ground. And and the disc drill is more noted for no-till. Well, one of the practices that we do within our intercropping is alternating rows. We want to seed one row of straight peas and another row of straight flax or canola. This year we're going to be doing a flax and pea combination. The reason why I like alternating rows is because I can adjust the depth to match those crops and what they prefer for planting arrangement. One of the reasons that we went with the case no-till drill is Case kind of set their drills up in a way where you could put seed down the front set of ranks, and then you could put you could either just keep the second set of ranks completely up out of the ground, or you could set them down and put, say, fertilizer or something. I don't think they were planning on anybody using their drill for intercropping, but just so happens that it's set up perfect for that, in my opinion, whether they meant it for that or not. But there's a couple of things that a person needs to do in order to get it ready for that. One of the things that we need to do is we need to set up what are called our metering wheels. Our metering wheels help push the seed from the cart, which is kind of back up behind me here. They push the seed from the cart to the toolbar, which I'll show you that in a little bit. I've got, and right now I'm working on changing out these metering wheels. So I thought I would kind of show you what the metering wheels look like, and how I've modified them, or how I'm going to use them in order to get my alternating rows. So as you'll see here, these are the metering wheels. This first one right here, this is what you would use if you were wanting to seed with both the front and the back rank. It's called an 8-run roller. So it'll seed all 8 runs. As you can see, there are 8 tubes that collect the seed. We're using just that bottom set of tubes. The seed will fall down into this system here. Air will push it into this bottom set. So when we're using this roller, we're using all 4 of those, or all 8 of those. This second roller up here, as you'll see, has kind of a large spacer in the middle. And then it's got just 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're only running 4 rows with this. So when we're using that particular roller, we're only going to be using these 2 outside and those 2 outside. And we'll use that to seed our peas. We can use a little bit heavier rate. And then we're going to use this other roller, which I kind of modified a little bit. I just threw some duct tape on these outside rows because they're not really a good way to put a spacer on these outside rows, but I only want to use the inside here to seed my flax. So when I'm seeding my flax, it's just going to be going down here and here. And as you'll see, there's a little bit of a difference in the grooves. So the grooves on this roller are a lot deeper, meaning they can seed a heavier rate. They can take more crop falling into the rollers than this one, which has very shallow. So for instance, with my flax, I'm only going to be seeding at about 30 pounds to the acre. And with my peas, I'm going to be seeding anywhere from 60 pounds up to 180 pounds to the acre. Now that'll change depending on my strategy for this intercrop, but that's how that kind of works. The larger grooves allow for more seed to be placed, whereas the smaller grooves allow for a finer amount of seed. So that's one of the things I'm doing right now, is I'm changing out these. They fit right up in here. So I'll just put them into this groove, latch this shut, and then that feeds in here. Now, in order to match up with the rows that I don't want seed, I'm going to go ahead and put these covers somehow over the rows that I don't want seed falling down. So that ensures then that I'm only using 2 or 4 out of the entire 8 cups. And so for one set, I'll have the blocks on the two, or on the outside 4, and then on this other set, I'll have the blocks on the inside 4. And that's how that'll be set up. This rear tank, so there's a third tank here. This one will be to seed fertilizer. If I'm putting any fertilizer down with my flax and peas, I'll be using all 8 runs instead of 4. At some point, I may try to match it up with either the canola or the canola flax instead of the peas. I'd like to ideally go that route. I still haven't determined if I'm going to be putting any fertilizer down yet with my intercrop. So yeah, so I'm gonna work on kind of getting that set up, and then I'll take you around the rest of the drill in a minute. So this is what a disc type opener looks like. It's just a gigantic disc with a depth wheel and then a closing wheel. So how does this work? Well, as you see, there's a series of hoses that come off of this tower that are fed by these much larger hoses. Well, everything starts with the air tank, where we were working at replacing the metering wheels earlier. All of the seed gets stored in there. It drops into those runs that I was talking about. If you want to use the entire drill, you use all 8 runs. If you're wanting to do an intercrop, an alternating row like what we're doing, then you can go ahead and use 4 out of the 8 runs. If you're using 4 runs, you'll be using each one, these 2, 3, 4 towers up front for one portion of the tank, or the remaining 4 towers for this rear portion. So you can see there's a set of gangs in the back and a set of gangs in the front. Now if you look at it from here, you'll see that these gangs are kind of offset from one another. Here's one here, then here's one in between these 2. If you go from this gang to this gang, that's about 20 inches apart. But if you go from this gang to that gang, there's only 10 inches apart. So those larger hoses feed into these small towers, and then those towers split into these smaller hoses. So the seed being pushed by air will run down this hose, down through a tube, and it'll come out right down here. So this disc opens up the ground, the seed trickles out right in front of this tab. This larger wheel sets the depth at which that disc is allowed to cut into the ground, and then this wheel comes behind and pushes that furrow or the trench that we just opened with the disc, and it closes it into place, allowing for good seed to soil contact. The depth is adjusted by this piece right here. You slide this either forward or back, and that adjusts how this wheel sits, giving it that limit of how far it can go down. So when we're intercropping, we're going to be seeding one row this front gang will be seeding one crop, this rear gang will be seeding a different crop. Now again, I'm pretty sure that this is not the design that Case had in mind when they were building this drill, but it's what we found, what we can use. It makes sense for our operation. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of learning curves as we kind of figure out the best way to use this drill, but that's right now kind of the overall idea. That cart has a total of 3 different tanks on it. Each of those tanks hold a different volume. In this case, it would be a different set of bushels. And then we can control inside the tractor with a special computer. We can control exactly how much seed is being metered out of each tank individually and is going down each row. So we can adjust if we need to on the go, or we can kind of set at the beginning, and it's supposed to be metering to that preset. So yeah, that's kind of how this works. We'll go over some more of the intricacies of this drill later on. So when talking about a disc drill versus a hoe drill, I figured that I would show you the drill that we were using last year and show you what the hose looked like compared to what the discs looked like earlier, or that I showed you on the other drill. So when we're talking a hoe drill, this is kind of what the hoe portion would look like. It's just a large knife that would slice into the ground. In this particular case, it was about 4 inches wide. And this worked in much the same way. This is also an air seeder, whereas the hose would feed into the back of the shank here. Again, air pushing from the tank to the tower, and the tower would push the seed through the hose down the tube into the back, and then it would be covered. And in this case, these wheels in the back would pack it tight into the ground. So this is the drill that we were using last year, and we set it up in such a way so that we were seeding one row of peas, and the next row would be our canola or our flax, our smaller seeded crops, and we could adjust the depth not as precisely as we could with this new setup. The entire unit would have to be adjusted using cylinder stops. So this is what we used last year, and this year we'll be using that disc drill. Hopefully things will be a little more precise with the disc set and than with this hoe setup that we were using last year. Thanks for watching.